America's first billionaire tried living lavishly at first, but eventually decided to live a simple, comfortable life. This is the story of the Casements, John D. Rockefeller's final hometown in Florida. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1839, John D. Rockefeller was born to a modest family in a farmhouse in upstate New York. When the family moved to Cleveland, Ohio, young John left school for a business course and then walked the streets day after day looking for work, finally signing on as an assistant bookkeeper at the age of 16. In 1863, he put his savings into the new and chaotic business of oil refining, and within a few years, he had bought out his partners and set his sights on taming an industry that everyone else thought a reckless gamble. In 1870, he founded the Standard Oil Company, convinced that cooperation and ruthless efficiency could replace the boom and bust madness of the oil fields. He bought up rivals, struck secret bargains with the railroads, and squeezed his competitors until, by 1880, Standard Oil controlled the refining of 90 to 95% of all the oil produced in the United States. It made him almost unimaginably rich, and it also made him one of the most feared and criticized men in America. Journalists like Ida Tarbell exposed his hardball tactics, the public branded him a robber baron, and in 1911, the Supreme Court ordered the Great Trust broken into 34 separate companies. The breakup did nothing to slow his fortune, and in 1916, newspaper headlines crowned him the world's first billionaire. But that's getting ahead. The second half of his life was devoted to giving that money away as aggressively as he had earned it, and he poured more than $500 million into medical research, public health, and education, founding the University of Chicago and the Rockefeller Foundation. Now, the house he would retire to was not originally built for him at all. It went up in 1913 for the Reverend Doctor Harwood Huntington in Ormond Beach, Florida. Set on a barrier island overlooking the Halifax River, the three-story frame house was designed in the shingle style, a relaxed and rambling manner popular in American resort towns, and it wore weather-gray shingles that gave it the easy look of an oversized seaside cottage. Its defining feature and the source of its name was its windows. The walls were filled with rows of hand-cut casement windows that swung open on hinges like little doors. Those windows caught every river breeze and kept the rooms cool in the Florida heat long before anyone dreamed of air conditioning, and so the house became known simply as the Casements. When it came to buying the property, Rockefeller, wary that the price would soar if anyone knew the world's richest man was interested, had an associate quietly make the purchase on his behalf, and he took up residence in early 1919 at the age of 78. Around the house spread about 2 acres of gardens that sloped gently down to the Halifax River, planted with towering palms, citrus trees, and well-tended terraces. There were no guards towers or iron gates, only a neatly clipped hedge and a welcoming driveway. Step inside, and that welcoming atmosphere continues with the enclosed sun porch. Rockefeller held to the belief that fresh air and sunlight would help him reach the age of 100. He had the porch glassed in so he could sit warm and sheltered even on cool days, and passing tourists would slow down to catch a glimpse of the famous old man seated inside like a living exhibit. It was here, wrapped in the light he loved, that he spent many of his quietest hours. At the heart of the house lay the central living room, opening onto an octagonal atrium crowned by a stained-glass skylight that scattered colored light down through the home. More than anything else, Rockefeller wanted the place filled with music, and he furnished it with a Steinway piano, a Victrola, and an old church organ. His Swiss valet, John Yorty, doubled as his organist and would play hymns for him in the evenings. The furnishings throughout were plain by the standards of a Titan, simple wooden pieces rather than gilded showpieces, coupled with overstuffed chairs. After all, why should the richest man in the world not be comfortable in his own home? Off the atrium, behind a set of French doors, lay the formal dining room, the largest room in the house. It was the setting for family gatherings and celebrated Christmas parties that over the years drew guests such as Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and even the Prince of Wales. Nearby stood Rockefeller's office, a plain working room where he kept his desk and ledgers and quietly oversaw the vast web of philanthropy that now filled his days. Even in his 90s, the old habits held, even though they were no longer for his personal gain. Toward the back of the house was the kitchen, a practical space fitted with transom windows set high over the cabinets to let the hot air escape and keep the rooms bearable in the summer. From here the household staff prepared the simple, careful meals that suited their frugal employer. Rockefeller's taste ran to plain food and porridge rather than lavish banquets, an echo of the Puritan thrift he clung to all his life. The Casements was very much a working household, staffed by cooks, maids, watchmen, and a housekeeper, and it included a dining room where the staff could take their own meals apart from the family. And unlike other service areas of the time, it was meant to be just as comfortable for the staff as the rest of the home was for Mr. Rockefeller. A staircase rises to the second-floor landing, a gallery that looks back down into the atrium and its glowing skylight. From here the family and their many guests reached the bedrooms above. The upper floor had its own sun porch as well, open to the river breezes and the morning light that Rockefeller prized so highly. Rockefeller's own bedroom was as unassuming as the rest of the house, simply furnished and arranged for the comfort of an aging man rather than show. In his final years, when climbing stairs grew difficult, a bedroom was arranged for him on the ground floor so that he could move about the house with ease. The house held 11 guest bedrooms in all, spread across the upper 2 floors, which Rockefeller hoped would fill up with his visiting children and grandchildren. In truth, the family came far less often than he wished. Still, the bedroom stood ready each season. Rockefeller passed in his sleep at the Casements in May of 1937, just 2 months short of his 98th birthday, having fallen only a little short of the 100 years he had chased. He was mourned less as the feared oil baron of old than his neighbor John, the courtly figure who handed out shiny dimes to the working-class children in his town, sang hymns in the local church, and played a daily round of golf into his old age. After his passing, the family sold the house, and it began a long slide down through a string of owners and uses. In 1940, it became the Casements Junior College and Preparatory School for Girls, and later it served as a rest home for the elderly and then an annex to the hotel across the street. Eventually it stood empty, and the once graceful cottage fell into a grim decline, battered by 2 fires, by vandals, and by simple neglect, until parts of its roof had collapsed. By the late 1960s, developers planned to tear it down and raise a condominium tower in its place, and the Casements came within a breath of the wrecking ball. It was saved by determined local citizens who got the house placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1973. The city of Ormond Beach bought the property in 1974, and with the help of a federal grant, it undertook a painstaking restoration. Workers stripped away the later additions and rebuilt the ruined interiors from historic photographs, and in 1979, the house reopened as the community's cultural center. Today, the Casements is the pride of Ormond Beach, offering tours, art exhibits, and classes, and hosting weddings and festivals in its restored gardens along the river. More than a century on, the Casements still tells the story of a titan who craved the simplest pleasures in life, only sunshine, music, and a good round of golf. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you like best about the Casements? Let me know down below in the comments section, and while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.